Welcome to the Lockdown Economy, a series of interviews by the think tank AlterContacts, where real entrepreneurs share their insights. My name is Yulia Skupchenko, and today my guest is Rishi Kapal, an author, managing partner of Global Scaleup, and global startup evangelist. Hello, Rishi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Where are you calling from today?
So I am in India and I'm really happy to be on a call with you all the way thousands of miles away. And fortunately, today the weather is nice. We've been having thunderstorms for the last couple of days. But today it's a bright sunny day and I hope it's the same for you and everyone else over there as well.
Well, that's excellent. Hopefully, that's a good sign for our interview, and everything will go well.
Let's
Okay.
hope for the best.
So, tell me, what do you do as a business? I know that you're in 3 different lines of work, and that's very interesting. So, tell me, which is your business?
Okay. So 7 years ago, I moved out from an active corporate life, and I have three things that I do right now, as you rightly mentioned. So one is that I work with startups for strategy, growth, and fundraise, and that is the work which we do in Global Scale Up as an organization. And other than that, when I find some time out of passion, I work on helping professionals for career transitions, and if they have been outplaced, I coach them to have some resilience and move in the next direction. And the other passion I have is writing. So I've already written 5 books, and now I help budding authors and advise them to write effective communication material. So that's what takes my time at this point of time.
That sounds like a really a full plate of interesting things to do, and yeah, writing and advising. And so I guess lockdown affected all of them in one way
Yes.
or another.
Yes.
Personally, I started writing more. So how about you? So what was the effect of the lockdown on your advisory practice, for example, to people who are out of job? Because there are a lot of people out of job right now. And the
Okay.
scale ups, the startups, what are they doing right now?
Okay. So interestingly, the work has increased. And what has happened is that while we were dealing with multiple sectors of startups, in 5 or 6 sectors, the interest level of the corporates and the investors went up. So those sectors were health, energy, e-commerce, education, entertainment, and cybersecurity. So of the 10, 15 companies portfolio that we had, companies in this space started to get a lot of more attention. And so our work started pivoting from a particular sector to these 5 or 6 sectors. So I would say the ecosystem had been active, and a lot of corporate professionals who knew that there is uncertainty in the long run also became entrepreneurs. So there was a lot of ecosystem chatter on people talking to us to say, how can we start up something of our own rather than being dependent on the job? So from the startup scene, there is some decision delay, but the ecosystem is extremely vibrant, and I believe it is very adequately supported by people and friends like you as well. Let me come to the little work that I do in career transitions and outplacements. So earlier, people used to believe in the credibility of the coach, to say coach has 30 years of experience and he would have worked in 7 top Fortune 500s. That is not the norm any longer. These candidates basically have very little time and they're very nervous. So this is about mindfulness. This is about emotions management. So they basically want to hear a use case on, have you really helped anyone? And if you have helped anyone, what happened to that person? So earlier the coaching was dependent on what is my personal credibility as a coach. Now the coaching is dependent on, you might be whatever you are, but have you really helped anybody in life? So these candidates have very little time to choose who they want to talk to. So that is why they are more wanting to listen a use case on what have you done for others rather than what have you done for yourself. And coming to writing, so I actually had a contract from an international publisher to complete a book in 6 months. But because of the lockdown, they told me that since you have nothing to do, why don't you write the book? So, so I actually told them that I have enough to do, but they became very persistent. And on 31st May, I completed the book which I had to write. So that book will be out by August, September. So writing continues. I have gone very active on LinkedIn now. I really follow AlterContacts and I see what is coming up there. I try to work around that as well. But just to summarize, from a startup ecosystem, the sector of focus has changed. From a career transition perspective, people don't want a lot of theory. People really want to know whether your practice has helped anybody or not. And writing continues as a passion. So something which I could have finished in a long duration. Now in the lockdown, there was time, and to keep myself mentally agile, I actually focused a lot more on writing, and I've completed the project before time. So I'm just trying to keep myself happy.
Yes, and it sounds like it's very busy. It's very impressive how much you actually managed to do in the short time, because everything that you describe sounds like a lot of work, especially finishing the book on such a short notice. So if we go back a little bit to the scale ups and the startups, you mentioned that there are some industries that have become more active. Um, can you tell a bit more about the kind of companies you have, or maybe how they felt or when the lockdown happened, because you are in touch with all those entrepreneurs that are part of those companies?
Yes. So we have companies in the education and the healthcare space. And when we were talking to them about in the ecosystem, a lot of people had a lot of other things to do as well. So people were focusing on, at that point of time, auto component, automotive sector as well, real estate sector as well. So people used to give us slots when their calendars were free. But now, when you go with an education company or a healthcare company, people are willing to talk to you before the others. So the challenge it has created for us is that we expected some of our companies to be prepared for certain milestones in 6 months. Now we have to do it in 3 months, because when the demand is there, you need to be ready then. You cannot tell the other guy that I'll be ready when I'm ready and you meet me at that point of time. But the whole resilience of the ecosystem has got really tested, and people are really, really very supportive. So we have companies which are based in US, which are based in Canada and Singapore and India, but now they are finding themselves to be globally relevant. So an Indian company who was doing education for India is also getting demand from UK. A company which was in Canada in the healthcare space is right now negotiating deals in India, Thailand, and Singapore and Dubai. So I believe that while the lockdown and the pandemic is unfortunate, it has brought the world together. So wherever there is a solution which can solve a problem, it is not now geographically constrained. It can be discovered in any part of the world, and that has also added to, I would say, anxiety at our end, because we really want to serve. We want to be ready when the people need it. So that is what is happening at this point of time. And banking and financial services is an essential service. So anything which can make it more secure, more safe, and more faster is also gaining a lot of traction. So we've had a lot of new learnings. Like I don't belong to the healthcare sector. I'm more in corporate and education. But I thought I will learn something in the next 3 to 6 months and then talk to the ecosystem. But now I have to learn 24/7 because the demand is now. So it has also pushed me to be upskilled and reskilled faster than what I was expecting it to be. But yes, 4 or 5 sectors, as I mentioned, will be the drivers of economy by the time the actual manufacturing sector starts to set in.
And you mentioned that the startups and the scale-ups that were in healthcare and education had to adapt to the 3 month cycle instead of the 6 months. And I think we can already look back at it, right? So it's already done. So did they manage? Is there any specific success story or anything that you could share with us?
Yeah, so there are certain success stories, but since they are not, publicly announced, on
Oh,
behalf of
okay.
the founders, I would not want to make certain commitments. But both from business scale up and from funding, this month and the coming month, we already have some soft commitments and some serious paperwork going on. So as I said, so it might be happiness on a few faces, but all the companies which we are supporting are committing to employment. So this is not about saying how much money I make. They're saying if I make money faster, I will distribute it faster. So so those wins are there on the table, but those wins are not just to have a chip on the shoulder to say I did something. They're actually already identifying people. So for example, I'll tell you the name of one company. It is called Go Crowdera, and Go Crowdera gives free crowdfunding to any cause that matters. So if you do gocrowdera.com, he's made a commitment for the next 6 months through global scale up. If he finds anybody who needs crowdfunding, he will not charge for it. So we have been scaling them up in US. We've been scaling them up in India. Very happy to work with you to make it happen in Netherlands as well. But these are the kind of people who have left the money part of it behind They're saying whatever I earn, I will deploy for employment. And if I'm not earning anything, I will give my solution for free. I still consider that a success story because the mind is resilient to that level.
Yeah, it sounds quite captivating, the whole idea. And I would like to talk, of course, about how we can maybe do it in the Netherlands, but that's probably
Absolutely.
off the call. But maybe we can make a small transition into your other business, which is the advising people who are looking to transition in their employment, right? And I want to start first from, maybe there were some qualities that you noticed in the entrepreneurs in your scale ups that you would be advising about to your potential clients in the future on the employment.
Okay.
Maybe there were some qualities that help them deal with the lockdown. That's something, the stress resilience or something interesting.
So this is now as a mix, as you rightly mentioned. So there are entrepreneurs and there are people who want to become entrepreneurs. So one thing everybody understands is this is struggle for existence. So this is more or less not the survival of the fittest, because everybody has been impacted. So COVID has not been specific to gender, caste, creed, or a geography to say I will impact this and I will not impact that. So what has happened in the corporate space where people want to transition as entrepreneurs, 90% of them have been managing teams, and they are very scared that when they become entrepreneurs they will be on their own, they will not have people to delegate, they will have to do it themselves. So the discussion with them has been to say, guys, go back 20 years in your career and think when you were an individual contributor, that you don't have to manage people, but there are people ahead to be managed. So you have clients to be managed, but you will not have a team with you. So that is the most difficult transition which I'm seeing in these professionals who want to become entrepreneurs, that they say, can I do it myself? Because for the last 10 years, I've been making 20 people do it for me. So that is me one thing. The second is there's a lot of personal frustration because a lot of them have liabilities. And these are liabilities which are, say, home loan situations, or they've got a car loan and all that stuff. And nobody's going to give them a respite. The guidance I have for them is that you have transferable skills. Rather than waiting for something to happen, let's at least attempt something which is right now in our control. So there are startups who are made by young entrepreneurs, but they do not have seasoned professionals to guide them. So I've been asking these corporate professionals that why don't you actually move in the direction of guiding these startups rather than waiting for something to happen. But net Julia, what has happened is it is a game of the mind. So if the mind says, I have a problem, but I want to see how to solve it, is one part of it. Saying that I have a problem, but I just wait for something to solve it, is a situation which a lot of them are facing. But rather than upskilling and reskilling, the people I'm working with are looking at transferable skills. What can they transfer from corporate to entrepreneurship? And the second is the resilience to do things with their own hands rather than the behavior or the habit they had of delegating for the last 10 to 15 years. The journey is extremely, I would say, challenging. I've had it myself. So I do not give any garden path to anyone to say, guys, this is heaven, and the moment you do it, things will be, there will be whining and dining. It doesn't happen like that. This is the time to tell them the truth, that it will be painful, but that pain will also not let you think a lot about the trouble that is happening in the external world. This pain at least will be something you will be taking for yourself. And a lot of these people can become very good professors. So corporate people, only 1% of them try to become teachers. Like I became a full-time professor for 2 years in my career. So I've been telling these guys that you are brilliant in content, you're brilliant in communication. Rather than again thinking about something wrong happening, come and become professors because education needs you. So identifying the right sector, mental resilience, and being able to work on your own is something which I tell them at this point of time.
Yeah, absolutely. On your last point, that they have a lot of to share in their terms of their knowledge, and of course, people at the students at universities, they need the practitioners to share with them the realities of our world. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that people who are watching this right now, and they are in the moment where they're thinking, oh, can I do the entrepreneurship? Maybe I considered it in the past. I think what you say is like a balm to their ears, and maybe they will reach out. But can you tell me shortly about your competitors? Maybe you've noticed some unusual activities in that side.
So there is competition on all aspects. So a lot of people suddenly have become coaches. So whether they are coaches for entrepreneurs or they are coaches for corporate professional transitions, you will see suddenly a lot of people who've had 20 years of experience behind them, coaches have started appearing on their LinkedIn while they might not have even done it professionally. So competition always remains, and it is good to embrace competition, but I sometimes don't prefer people to take credit of something which they don't have. So my worry is to have too much competition which is not in the interest of the candidate, and half of those people might not have actually helped anybody in time to come. However, the realistic competition is right now collaborating. So for example, when I deal with incubators and accelerators, earlier we all used to compete for the mind share of an investor. Now we know that the sectors of interest are limited. So for example, there is an ecosystem which has an investor, but they need an education company which they don't have. So then they come to us and say that you have education companies, I have an investor. Why don't we collaborate? Then there are people who have solutions for universities, but they do not know how to reach universities, which is one of our core competencies. Then we tell them, fair enough, there is no competition in helping a university. So you have a solution, I have a university access, let's go over there. So at this point of time, the word competition has become co-opetition, where we are coordinating, collaborating, and actually helping the people at large. So I think the only good part that should remain in this is that even after the pandemic is over, people should have that element of collaboration rather than going back to becoming cutthroat competitors. So one is, I want genuine competition, and the second is the timing is such that competition has become collaborative. So right now I don't have any complaints.
Well, it sounds like a very positive view on the what's happening and what's going to happen. So, just very shortly, could you share with us your plans for the coming months, the
Okay,
outlook for the
so
future?
yeah. So one is that I also get personally frustrated. So I'm human. So I'm trying to ensure that if I'm telling people to be practicing resilience, I practice it myself. So when I write something in public domain, whether it's on LinkedIn or when I'm talking to people like you or to entrepreneurs, I'm trying to ensure that I'm mentally at peace. So I work with a company called AHA, AHHAA. It was founded by a former monk. So he was a monk for 18 years and he collaborates with Global Scaleup. So that's an organization whose content keeps us at peace, both me and the founder of Global Scaleup. So we basically keep on relying on that organization to keep us mentally resilient. Second is economic revival will be slow, but it will definitely happen. So we are very, very carefully watching the lead indicators, especially on the sectors which are referred to as. So every day we do a lot of reading, whether it is a report coming from any part of the world. We try to read and collaborate on what's going to happen. And I'm a Stanford lead alumni, and I've got a network of my own in which a lot of information is shared. So all avenues of information have been kept open, which is to filter the positive news to me and keep the frustrating news outside. The other thing is that I'm looking at reliable partners. So earlier we used to deal with a lot of people who will develop and evolve with us. But right now, if I have to help somebody, I need people who are reliable and trustworthy. So that lens has come up very fast. And we are looking at three kind of situations in the industry from a jobs perspective. So there are some jobs gaining traction, some jobs are saturated, some are declining. So we are trying to tell people that if you are in the declining job category, see what transferable skill can keep you at a saturation job level or a traction job level. So self-learning as well as preaching learning is happening. So as I said, my outlook is positive, but keeping that outlook positive needs me to take somebody's help. And that is something which we do religiously. So optimism shouldn't die. The moment optimism dies, you defeat your own self. And that is exactly I tell people not to do. Somebody else defeats you, it's just a game of strategy. You defeat yourself does not have an answer.
Yeah, I think it's a very important message that is very nice of you to share with the listeners. And I'm certainly going to be looking up the AHA
Yeah.
website and seeing what they have. And um, I like what you said about constant interaction with the good productive type of information and looking for the partners. I think that's the key. And I would like to thank you, Rishi, for doing this interview, for sharing your insights.
And thank you very much. So I'm a fan of AlterContacts. I know it's a global think tank for supporting sustainable development and entrepreneurship. I'm really privileged to know you all, and I just wish you all luck and carry on the good work. I'm really, really happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you very much again. And thank you for everyone who joined us today. If you want to contact Rishi, please look up in the text below the video. You can find his information. I invite you to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. In the coming weeks, we're going to have many more insights to share with you. So stay tuned and bye.